Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Uh, it is the R Wednesday. Oh, I'm going to send my tweet. I didn't even send my tweet. I went live and didn't even tell anyone. Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It is the R Wednesday. Oh, I'm going to send my tweet. I didn't even send my tweet. I went live and didn't even tell anyone. Yes, it is. Let me make sure I'm muted on my other end. Cool. Awesome. This is the first time doing the two-person conference call stream, so we're going to have a little bit of AV fun getting up and running. But hey, everyone. Today I am joined with a very special guest, Jason Lengstorf from Gatsby, who is going to be with us today talking about Gatsby, and I'll be talking about Glitch, and together we're going to sort of learn each other's stuff. It's interesting. On my end, your video is crystal clear, and on the stream it is glitchy as heck. Do you see that? That is super interesting. No, I don't think it's because when I look at your Zoom window, it's crystal clear, no problem. So it's OBS having some trubs, I think. OBS having the trubs. There's also no sound. That's on me. Okay. You're unmuted. Now I learned from watching you, Jason. I learned from watching your last stream. That's important to start.
Like the specter of my Twitch experience is that I always forget to unmute.
I think everyone is unmuted now, which is fantastic. Though, yeah, your video stream is definitely all over the place. I don't know what to do about that exactly.
Maybe I turn it off and on again.
It's funny because the Zoom window, like I said, Zoom window itself, rock solid. Just when I do the thing, it's like when it's trying to do the window capture, it's having major problems. Technology, everyone. You'd think that
Let's see.
You'd think that before you hit the live button, everything would look good, and then the second you hit the live button, everything goes all over the place.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't the truth. I'm going to just I don't know if this is any benefit, but I'm gonna reposition your window and see if something is better. Yeah, for whatever reason, it does not love what I'm doing with your window. That is just a bummer. All right, I have another possible way we can get around this. I'm gonna pull you onto the screen actually for a second and see if that works. Now see, look, right. the version of you that's on screen, no glitches. Do you see this?
Oh, so it just really hates that.
It really hates the window capture. Really hates the window capture. Okay, well, this is why we have alternate ways to do things. And ta-da! How's this? And I'll hide my OBS. Wonderful. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do it.
Doing the thing?
It's not doing the thing, I don't think. All right, OBS and glitches on brand. Okay, this looks good. This looks good. Everyone, we can all see Jason. We can all hear Jason. Jason, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, so good. Okay. Cool. Well then, if that's how we have to do it, that's how we have to do it. We are going to get started. Today's very special week. We're joined by Jason Lengstorf from Gatsby. Is the organization called GatsbyJS or Gatsby? I always want to make sure I'm getting that right.
I mean, we just say Gatsby. I don't know.
You just say Gatsby? Okay. I just want to,
Yeah.
Cool. So joined by...
We're working on official brand guidelines that we have definitely not nailed down yet.
Not a problem. Joined by Jason Lengstorf from Gatsby, who had some curiosity about how Glitch worked and what Glitch was. And I was a little curious about Gatsby, and we decided to mix the chocolate and the peanut butter together and do a collaboration stream. So today, we're going to try to get a Gatsby site working on Glitch with Jason's assistance. And tomorrow, I'm going to be on Jason's stream, and I'll be hosting that here. And I will be joining him, and we'll be talking about Glitch from kind of the other end of the spectrum. Is that more or less fair to say?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun because I have so many questions.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully we can cover some of them here, and we will do a few more tomorrow morning. So it's not going to be a repeat of the same content, so you should definitely check out both streams.
There's a really good question here. Who is chocolate and who is peanut butter in this analogy?
Who is chocolate and who is peanut butter? That's, I'm not,
I guess you'll have to be peanut butter because you're very smooth.
That must be it.
Smooth recovery from technical details. I think that qualifies you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna leave it to the historians to figure out who had been the chocolate and who had been the peanut butter. Okay, so you had some questions about Glitch. I work for Glitch. I would love to answer a couple of your questions now, and just do a little bit of introduction. Do you have anything specifically you want to know, or should I just give you the rundown?
I would love just a rundown because here's my theory. I think that Glitch is really important. I see the things that it's doing, and I've seen some of the things that it advertises being able to do, like collaborative debugging or like asking for a stranger to come in and actually edit your code and show you what's going on. And that to me seems like a huge possibility for the community. But I'm thinking that this might be like when I was a 14-year-old kid and I started hearing people talking about cell phones with text messaging. And I remember looking at it and thinking, that doesn't make any sense. How does anyone ever use that? We should just continue using phone calls. And like how wrong I was. So I feel like this might be me being like curmudgeonly and not understanding the true potential of the platform. And so I'd love to just kind of see like what are people doing with it and how is it impacting like development workflows for people.
Absolutely. Those are both really good questions. Yeah, it's I think in the era, I came up in the PHP era. I remember just writing my SQL queries directly in line in my PHP file and making like a terrible guest book for my personal site, and being like, this is the pinnacle of everything. I don't understand what all these people with the Ruby on Rails are on about. We've figured it out. We've cracked it. Everything's here what we need. So text messages. Yeah, it was like, oh, I could spend 50 cents to send 60 characters. Why would we do that? Now that we've demonstrated exactly how old we are, I'll tell you a little bit about Glitch. Hello, fellow youths. Today I'm here to talk to you about Glitch. It's Bay. So I think Glitch is ultimately Glitch is ultimately just like actually secretly under the hood, just like a container hosting service, infrastructurally, and that's really not interesting. And the reason that Glitch is awesome is because on top of this container hosting service, there's an IDE built in your browser. There's collaborative editing. There's a community site with curation and teams and all this awesome stuff. And it builds this sort of community that's kind of has some socially GitHub-y stuff, but it also is all about finding cool apps and discovering them, almost like you'd find and discover cool videos on YouTube. But the cool part is once you find an app you love, you can open it up and take a look at not just the source code of the client, but the source code of the server, and then you can remix it and start changing it and making it your own.
Yeah.
And then if you ever get stuck, you can raise your hand and someone can come in, or you can invite your friends and you can actually work together on that app. So it's from, I have an idea and I need to knock out an app and I want to have it online, to I found this really cool thing that someone built and I want to take it apart, see how it works, and make it my own. And I think those two things together are what's really special about Glitch. On top of that... No, yeah, please.
Well, it brings to mind kind of like I remember once upon a time I pretended I was a designer, and I fought really hard to get an invite to Dribble, and I think I posted 3 things and forgot about it. But what I loved about that model was this idea of I think they called them rebounds. So you would like post something, and then somebody would be like, "Oh, that's inspiring," and they would like do their own take on that concept, and they would post it as a rebound of some other thing. And over time, you would see these really interesting chains where an idea would morph as it passed from person to person to person. And this seems like it opens that same door. Like you create something, you remix it. Somebody goes, "Oh, that's super cool. What if you did it like this?" And then they remix it, and you end up with this like network effect of collaborative ideas that never would have happened if it was like just sitting on a server somewhere. So yeah, okay, I'm starting to understand.
Absolutely. And then just from a development standpoint, it's really cool to have example code not just be files in the example directory of your GitHub repo, but have them be live, right?
Yeah.
If I want to learn how to build a React site, as opposed to me having to, if I just want to play around with it, just see what it's all about, as opposed to me probably installing Xcode so I can install Homebrew, so I can install Node, so I can install npm, so I can check out the React, and then like, oh, I also install Git, and then check out the React repos with examples, and then go to the example folder and run npm install, and maybe it all worked. I can go to a website and immediately have a basic working React app and start messing with it. I sometimes talk when I'm talking to developer relations people, describe Glitch also as like the first hour of your workshop solved, right? You know, like as opposed to you,
That.
there's always that one person who comes to a workshop, bless them, who doesn't have an editor installed, and you're like, right, okay, cool, but I totally am excited for you. You're gonna go really far, but you know that person is not equipped. If you could just say, here, go to this URL and hit remix, and as long as you've got a browser and the conference Wi-Fi holds up, knock on wood, you can start going. Everyone can start from the same point. You can have multiple projects for later stages of the process, all that stuff. And so I think on top of it being this collaborative remix friendly culture, it's also just really useful to have everything running in the browser. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone all the time. If you've got your editor tricked out to within an inch of its life, then maybe the Glitch editor isn't for you. It's Codenear, it's got some nice stuff in it, but it's not, it doesn't support your vimrc or your Emacs scripts, or even, it doesn't presently support VS Code plugins. But there's some other stuff we can do. Like, we're actually playing with the ability to mount a Glitch project to VS Code on your system. So as you edit in VS Code, it live updates the site. Super cool. Trying to do... Yeah, some really neat, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of potential there, but as it stands, even today, I think I've more or less I fire up VS Code when I'm doing something locally, but I'm knocking out stuff just on Glitch. I have an idea, I don't have to type npm in it. I just start a new project, I remix something, a starter that I know about, or a basic project, and I go. And at the end, I just paste the link that I've been using the whole time, and everyone can see it.
Yeah. A question came in, which is, can you expose a TCP app, not HTTP?
I believe I'm not going to answer out of school. The answer is I don't know. I know we only really expose one port, which is your HTTP port that we assign you. Like most hosting services, process.env.port, that's your port. And a project is not considered live until we know that something's listening on that port. I guess you could expose TCP. I don't know that our infrastructure would recognize it as running properly and pass everything through without trying. But maybe. So the answer is maybe. I'd highly encourage you to play around with it and see what you discover, and hop in our support forums if you don't know.
Yeah, and it looks like somebody also posted a link to what appears to be documentation about this.
Oh, look at that. Look John Nicholas with the assist. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right, so should we build some stuff?
Absolutely. I was going to ask you to kind of jump in on your end what Gatsby is and why you're excited about it and that sort of stuff.
So, hearing you talk about Glitch actually really, really excited about the kind of parallels that I'm hearing, because Gatsby is at its core a way to build really, really fast web experiences really, really fast. Like, our intention is to be fast in all the ways that matter. And that's like, how long does it take you to get something out the door? How long does it take you to start? How long does it take it for it to load once it goes to the browser? And so we want all the good experience of like rapid prototyping, what you would do with just plain HTML and vanilla JS in your browser to try to work out an idea. We want that level of ease to get started, but the like final product is good enough that you ship it to production. And so what we've done is we've effectively baked a lot of the boilerplate of setting up a React app. And what we do under the hood is we configure Webpack and Babel for you, so you don't have to look at it. You have access to eject those configs if you want full control. Like, if you want to, you can make your life as hard as you want with looping, optimization, all the things that you would want done, so that the ultimate app that you ship is as fast as the industry recommendations that can be globally applied will make it. And so by default, typically what happens is somebody will spin up a Gatsby site, and that's going to score 100 out of 100 on all the lighthouse audits for performance and all that good stuff.
I'm gonna have you wait just 1 second. I'm. Is your stream still working? My end has dropped.
I do not see a stream.
Come on, you can do it. Okay, hi. Network errors are fun. Let's see if this is a little better. How we doing? Sorry, you were in mid thought, and I totally stopped you to tell you that the stream dropped.
I'm curious where, like, what I was talking about when the stream stopped.
I think you were talking about industry standards for speed. So I want to. You can jump back into that point.
Okay. So yeah, the industry standards for speed, like the purple pattern and lazy loading assets and caching and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we are by default setting you up with the happy path. Like, we want to make the right thing the easy thing. That's kind of a mantra for us. So we want you to start with the best possible solution, and then you can progressively expose more and more complexity in the app for total control as your edge cases demand it. But, you know, by default, if you take all the shortcuts, if you make all the defaults, if you keep all the defaults, you're going to end up with a really great experience out the other end. And our idea behind this is, like, really what we want is just a ultra pleasant experience. And so by default, what you're saying about being able to open up a browser and just write some code, we want that same experience with being able to write code that you could then publish as a professional production project. So it kind of sounds like this might be a really good crossover here.
Absolutely, yeah. Both things are sort of, let's get started fast, but then let's ship what we've built and not have to throw it all away when it's time.
Yeah, we want to bridge that gap between prototyping and production code. You should be able to write production code as fast as you write prototypes. And that's really the aim of a lot of what we're doing.
Completely agree. I'm going to triple check to make sure that my backup program isn't kicking in. Just to be on the safe side before we go any further. Because I think it's time to start building something. As everyone looks...
Yeah, let's do it.
By the way, Backblaze, it's great. I highly recommend you use it.
Until you're streaming.
And then you should stop it. Cool. Backblaze, send me that sponsorship dollars. Let's do this. Okay, so one of the glitch, like I said, ultimately underneath the hood, it's a container hosting environment, which means it's a Linux container. But sort of tier 1 support is we have a lot of smart stuff in place to do the right thing with Node. So we've got the tools in place to do the right thing with package.json, dependency management, and sort of getting Node projects up and running very, very quickly and having some smarts built in. So Gatsby obviously is a Node and JS project. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be kind of the thing that'll be fun about this is that Gatsby by default is run once and it produces static assets. So we can run it in development mode though, which I think will be, it'll get us a better glitch experience anyways, because we want to play with things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it's Node. So we should be in decent shape here, I think.
Sweet. Great. So it's ultimately a static site generator, but if we're playing with it in development mode, we can. What sorts of things does
Yeah.
development mode give us?
So what Gatsby will do in development mode is, so Gatsby can consume data from like any endpoint. So an API, a database, a text file, whatever you got. We will consume that and then make it available as a GraphQL layer so that you can query against your file system or against your CMS or both at the same time if you want. So the develop mode spins up that server. It also does hot reloading of components and a handful of other things that sound like they might be duplicate of what Glitch does. So hopefully there's no conflict there. But
Yes, we may end up disabling some of Glitch's helpful auto reloading and stuff like that in favor of
okay,
Gatsby's hot reloading. We'll see how those two get to play together. That'll be half the fun.
cool. Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I'm really excited to be doing this, because another thing that I'm excited about is it seems like Glitch could be a great way to do minimal reproductions or small examples, which would be huge for library maintainers. Being
Yes.
able to say, here's my problem, I can show it breaking, and I don't have to go create a repo or like you do all this local work. I can just go like, here's the default thing, here's what breaks, here's your link. I love that. So cool. Yeah. So to get started, we will need to, I guess, just kind of empty out this this glitch file or open up a new glitch doc that we can work on.
Yeah. So I've already put the URL of the project we're playing along with in the docs. Right now, it's just sort of a basic kind of static, goofy, empty node project that has a basic CRUD thing in it. I am going to drop a link to the code view in the channel so folks can just actually take a look at the code as we go and see us making changes live, in addition to seeing the output. So yes, I see folks are already popping into our editor, which is cool. And those people are spectators. They can ask to edit, but just a heads up, we're only going to have Jason and I editing code. So everyone else, don't, if you request to join, I'm going to unfortunately just ignore that because too many cooks in the kitchen would get a little bit messy, I think. But
Cool.
so
Well,
yes, you wanted to right now. Yes, there's some basic scaffolding in here. We can clean that up / ignore it for the moment.
yeah, I think we can honestly probably just dump it and start with an empty folder,
Yeah.
and see how that goes for us.
All right. So I'm going to show you a cool thing about the Glitch is both project owners have access to the console. So you'll notice over here,
Ooh.
it's going to load, and in a moment, yeah, there we go. This is the project. So we have full access to the command line to do things we need to do from there. So it sounds like we don't need our public folder. We don't need views. And let's see.
We won't need the .env either.
The .env is just in case we need to. We'll keep that around just in case. That helps us hide secrets. It's not gonna. It doesn't. It's just a DM. That's a glitch sort of useful thing. So we're gonna keep that around. Package.json I think just has express in it right now. We can probably remove that, but it'll manage the node modules folder on our behalf. So I'm gonna type refresh, which tells the editor that I've made changes to the file system, and you should go see what they're doing. And if we come back over here,
Yeah,
it is updated.
I can now see. I can see it all disappear.
And you can
That's
see
cool.
that our logs are now like, what did you do? All the files I expect are gone. Panic, panic, panic. And that's because in package.json right now, scripts start is trying to do a thing that doesn't exist. So we'll not worry about that for the moment, and we'll go into getting the Gatsby CLI going.
Yeah. So what we would want to do here, we might need to delete this package.json. I guess we can. I think it's going to want an empty directory. So I guess we'll find out how this goes. But what we'll want to try is running. Do we have access to npx?
I believe we do. Let's find out, shall we? Yeah, looks like it. Might be a little salty with us, but
Okay.
this is Sometimes it draws weirdly.
Yes.
There we go.
So what we want to try is just run npx Gatsby new and then dot as the argument, and that'll say like for the current folder.
So Gatsby new like this.
Well, it'll be npx Gatsby new. So typically you would globally install Gatsby, but since I assume we don't have access to global commands.
We don't technically, but we do put dependencies on the path.
Oh, so like if we installed Gatsby, we would be able to then run like Gatsby new.
I believe so. If we install the Gatsby CLI,
I think this might be in a little bit of like code inception. Let's try it. Let's see what
let's
happens.
try it. Yeah, we have to go deeper. All right, so it's using pnpm and picking up the Gatsby CLI, and then I'll just bail on that, and we'll see once this is done installing what we've got in our path.
Okay.
I'm actually going to close the console on the off chance I need to pick up the new path.
Yeah, and so what we'll want to try is just which Gatsby.
Mm-hmm. You say done. Post
Oh yeah,
install.
it's totally working.
And then back to our normal error. Fantastic.
Okay, so if we try Gatsby new dot, and it's like independent words, Gatsby space new space dot.
Gotcha.
What we should get, assuming the package.json doesn't yell at us, is we should get a new Gatsby project just scaffolded out for us from the default starter, since we're not passing another argument.
I see what you're saying about it might be exciting, because it's trying to overwrite a package.json in a folder where it already is.
That's my concern, is that it's going to explode when it hits that, but it might just like do it.
Directory is already an npm project.
Okay, so yeah, what we'll have to do is we can just work around that. Let's just edit the package.json directly.
Okay.
So what I can do, if you're looking at it, is I can just do I should add these through the add package thing.
It doesn't matter. It's useful to do it that way.
Yeah, I also is this the latest version? It's not a huge deal, but it looks like
it should be.
Let's just add it. Yeah, we're at like 2.2 point something, but
that's weird. The package search should show stable, so that's interesting.
And
it's exciting.
We may have not tagged it as stable at some point. So let's do. We're also going to need React, and we will need React DOM.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm adding each of these, and then we can remove Express and the Gatsby CLI. And so I'm just going to drop those.
And you'll see underneath the hood in the logs, Glitch is seeing all these changes. The sort of Fantasia style buckets and brooms are going to life.
Yeah, and so this main, like, we don't really need it, so I'm going to drop it to avoid confusion.
I'm terrible about remembering to update the description, so thank you.
And I guess we should probably change this to Fanatical Willow. Cool. All right, so that should be enough, like, to get us rolling. So assuming this worked, what we want is the log should be, once it finishes downloading things, it should just start Gatsby if it's going to run Gatsby. It runs node start, right?
Yeah, it's just gonna once it's ready, it'll go into node start or npm start, whatever the heck it.
So yeah, let's see.
Getting there.
Here we go.
That it's taking this just means that there isn't already Gatsby on the like shared host that we're running under, because if there was, it would be super fast. Think.
Okay. So this is one of those things that I've been thinking about is I need like filler material, like good jokes for when I'm doing npm install, because it's already like kind of slow, but then once you get it onto a stream and you're overloading the network, it's like I guess it wouldn't be in
Yes.
this
Well,
case.
this is headed to our things. The containers are provisioned with a certain limited amount of CPU, so they're also just not always the most shredding.
Yeah.
How's the container stack?
They don't give you like super DevRel admin access to like
no, these aren't the jumbo
44
EC2
boxes.
These aren't jumbo EC2 instances.
Okay, so it says done.
It says done.
What else?
It's still thinking.
Is that what the little spinny ball means?
Yeah. So that will tell us both at the top and the under tools. It's knows that it's still doing stuff. Okay.
Okay, it's doing things.
Did things installing. Why is it installing again? Curses.
Oh no. Karaoke has been requested.
Karaoke has been requested. Oh
yeah.
The problem is I'm seated. It's not that I don't want to sing. It's that I'm seated, and that just doesn't seem right. And that's the excuse I'm going to go with. MIDIs, please. I do.
Like
I do. Do you have any requests? I have every MIDI that was on GeoCities on my system. So if you've got any requests, I can queue one up for you.
I mean, I guess at this point, the obvious answer is the Jeopardy theme song.
You know, I don't actually know if that's in there. It has to be.
What?
That's a terrible rendition. Try again.
Request for Blues Traveler hook. Can we do it?
That's a good jam. The best thing about poorly rendered MIDIs is they never seem to trigger content ID. Isn't that weird?
There's a question. Actually, this is probably kind of fun filler content. So Gatsby is named after the Great Gatsby, obviously, which means that it is very, very common that if somebody just Googles Gatsby, they see content about the Great Gatsby, which also means a lot of like Leonardo DiCaprio shows up. And also people very consistently send us the Leonardo DiCaprio Great Gatsby, like the Cheers thing. Which is it's great. I mean, I love that GIF. Exactly that. But so I think what's happening is we are slowly chipping away at the SEO dominance of Leonardo DiCaprio, and eventually we will consume him and he will work for us, is I think how that's going to happen. Eventually we'll just, he'll have to come to all of our corporate events and just do the cheers whenever it's time.
He's just kept in a padded room. It's like Mr. DiCaprio, it's time. Okay, I'm seeing some promising things in the logs.
Oh yeah, this is the Gatsby pre-boot. I just imagined, I have to finish this thought. I just imagined our CEO, Kyle Matthews, like getting on stage and doing a keynote. And by this time I imagine he'll be wearing black turtlenecks and he'll like get through his big thing and just end with release the DiCaprio. And then like Leonardo DiCaprio will lower from the ceiling, cheers, and then just raise back into the ceiling. I think this is really what we're after.
I can't imagine. So it's Bootstrap finished. Okay, I see WDM. That's always exciting. And I see we're live. Ooh,
we're live?
So that's what it says. Moment of truth. I'm going to open this URL in my browser on my... Now we're dealing with my critically overloaded Wi-Fi. Oh man, I just watched The Inventor last night on HBO.
Was it good?
I before I watched it, I listened to the audiobook of Bad Blood, and I think that made a huge difference. Because your homework needs homework.
Of course.
So it's not doing it. I can't tell if this is my machine that's being a crank, or are you able to get to fanaticalwillow.glitch.me?
I'm trying.
Oh, here we go. It was saying wait till bundle. It was giving me it was yelling at me.
Okay, so we're in great shape. So if that's what's happened now, we've got Gatsby site running with no content like whatsoever.
Yes.
And so the exciting part now is that if I go in and create, if I just type in a source directory, is it gonna like acknowledge the directory, or do I have to do something special to add
No,
a
you
file?
can just if you add a file and add a directory, and it just goes, yes, I believe you that a directory exists.
Okay, so I'm going to add this file. All right, so now we have a source pages index, and we can, if you want to, maybe actually, you know what? Why don't I talk you through building this?
Please.
So if you want to open that source directory,
Okay.
and in the index page, we're going to import React from React, because it's always just a React component.
Is it like this or?
It's capital React, no braces.
Okay, so it's default export.
Yep.
And just like that.
And yep, and then we can let's just call the page whatever we want, const page or home or whatever. Yeah, and then that is going to be a stateless function, so just the arrow function.
Oh, arrow function.
Or
Okay.
that is also fine. And we're going to return just some JSX, so you can do without any quotes, just a paragraph tag and hello world, and then export home as default. Sorry, like export default home. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Giving you bad syntax.
That's all right. This stuff is still not second nature to me. So what I'm going to suspect is happening right now is that Glitch sees that we're changing JS files and is like, I better stop the current process and then rerun npm start, which in a lot of situations may be what we want. But I believe that we're now starting to run headfirst into Gatsby's Webpack auto reloader, correct?
Yeah.
So what I can do is disable that.
Okay. How would one do that?
There is the way I do it is I find this project. This should hopefully we can make this a little smoother. But there's a project that demonstrates how to use a special file called watch.json. And by putting a file called watch.json in our project, Glitch will obey it. So I can say, and paste in this content. Right now, this is looking for only changes to a file called trigger rebuild. That's probably not what we want. We'll say for now, which I think is implicit, but if package.json changes, we restart. Otherwise, we don't.
Right. Yeah.
My app is taking a while to stop. Okay. Not sure what's installing. I think maybe we got into a little bit of trouble, but
oh, interesting. It like bounced to like different versions of Node. We got
did it go all over the place?
Which was a crash. Performing headless installation. So I think we have a current like caching bug that sometimes on the hot reload it gives like invalid JSON as a response, and so that may be a huge stumbling block right now until we get that solved. Hopefully that's not the case, but let's see what happens.
Give me
package called Gatsby has already been linked. That's
yeah,
fine.
that should be okay. Install. Unclear why it decided to do maybe because I triggered watch.json once. It's just like I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna quick.
Okay, yeah.
Just get myself back in shape.
The question I think was about what default means is the export default.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to take that?
Sure. To the extent that I understand it, in ES module syntax, normally when you are doing exports from a module, there's sort of an implicit outer object. And so if I was to say export const home, when someone imported from home, it would actually be importing an object that contains a property home. So it would look like this, yes. However, if you know that you're only going to be exporting one thing, and one thing only, we're going to skate to one song and one song only, then you can instead say, hey, this is the default export, and then it replaces the implicit object. It's very similar in the common JS node pattern to when you say module.exports equals versus saying exports.foo equals. They have pretty clear analogs. And in fact, that pattern, I think, was probably influential on the ES module standard. I wasn't in the room.
But. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the reason that this is nice is like if you have a file and you wanted to do like button, I don't know, header, then what you would be able to do here is if you export all three of those, then you can then import them as distinct entities.
Correct.
As opposed to having to do here, which would be like home dot button or something like that, which is kind of a pain. So it's just it's a convenience method with ES modules so that you don't have to create a separate file for everything or deal with some kind of other object.
And I would say, yeah, the export keyword is kind of sugar over the fact that instead of you having to the very bottom of your, module say exports equals object home : home, or even short syntax, you have to list everything. You can just annotate as you write, but this is an export and this is an export and this is an export. But if you're only exporting one thing, yeah, default is just it's extra magic to make it clean. So React is obviously export defaulting React, which is why we just said import React from React. Okay, hello. And in the background, we produced a fully cooked turkey, and you can see if I load up Fanatical Willow, it says hello world. So whatever it was doing in the background obviously had the desired effect.
So now the moment of truth is if we edit this, what happens?
Yeah, so that's... Okay, I see WDM saying compile, but I don't see the server getting restarted. That's...
not rebooting. Compiled successfully. Then what happened? Hey, it worked.
Okay. Now we're cooking with gas.
We got hot reloading Gatsby running in Glitch, and it took us all of let's see,
20 minutes.
20 minutes. That's not bad. I feel pretty good about that.
I feel very good about that.
And what's really interesting too is like I'm curious to see how this goes as we add additional things. But like if we wanted to add a separate page, we could add a new file. So if you want to add another file in pages for, let's say, about.
Okay.
So source about.
Oop, the wrong project. Let me go back. Source pages, new file. Oop. With my screen being zoomed is having some interesting effects on the layout of this page.
Yeah.
Also, I have an experimental feature turned on where I have collapsible folders. Collapsible folders are new. So John Nicholas asks, is that running any Gatsby code on the front end, or is it just build process and server side stuff?
Let's see. So it didn't crash when you added that new file. So if you go into index, you can just copy paste across, and then let's edit it to say like about page or something.
Mm-hmm. John Nicholas, I would say that because we're using the development server, it's not. Is it currently writing static files, or is it just generating them on the fly?
It's so it's both. Like basically, what it's doing is it's creating an unoptimized build that we can update quickly in the background. So it's like a Webpack development server. So it is generating static assets, but it's holding some of that in memory so that it can quickly invalidate things. Yeah, so like if you were to try to serve this in public, it would be a nightmare because all of the code for all of the site, regardless of whether or not you were looking at that page, would be loaded in the same bundle. So it's like megabytes and megabytes of stuff that's uncompressed, unoptimized, all that. But so yeah, this is something that you would. It's great for development. You would not want to serve this for production. But now It looks like it's still built, which is good. So we can add a link between these pages. And Gatsby has an inbuilt utility for this
Okay.
called link. So be able to, in the whichever page you want, we could probably do it in both, honestly. We can go in and import link as a named import from Gatsby.
Capital L?
Yes. And then
Ooh, look at that. Look at that
can,
look at that pretty error as I was typing. That was nice, actually.
and then we can go into the home component. If we wrap, just add a link in there, and it's going to be link as a component.
Okay, so.
And it's going to link to is the prop. And in parentheses, in double quotes, I mean, we can add /about. And then it's just like a regular link. You can write, And what we should see on the front side is that we'll get a link to the about page. It just showed up to me, and it works.
Oh, maybe that didn't. Oh, now we're having all the fun. Let me try that again. For whatever reason, when I did it, it was salty. Oh, there it goes. I think it may have just not built all the way. Sweet.
Got it. But yeah, so then we could, you could add another one of those on the about page to get back, but not really super important.
Now, so does it magically know that index is just slash?
Yes. So it treats anything in the /pages directory the same way that you would treat like an HTML file. So if you add an about.js, it will create about.html. If you have index.js, it creates index.html. So you're able to kind of visit these pages at what the standard web conventions are. We have additional capabilities that we could dig into for if you wanted to do something like build out like dynamic routing where you had like an account page that had custom client side routing only. Like we have support for that. That's probably a little advanced for an initial kind of overview of what Gatsby's capable of.
I would agree.
But the nice thing is that once we're in here, we're basically just building React apps. So one thing that we could do, if you want, is let's see, about how much time do we have?
We technically clocked through 3 p.m. So we've got over an hour, but we can do as much or as little as we'd like. I do have a request,
sure.
Which is I'd love to figure out how to get markdown content rendering.
Let's do it. So to do that, let's create a folder for content. So just like content, and then create your first post. We'll call it whatever you want to .md. And that can be outside of, so it really can be anywhere you want. Any folder, we'll point to it later. So whatever you want to call it. Okay. And so inside of this, then you're able to, do all of that stuff. That's great. So we can go ahead and grab this in. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add 2 Gatsby plugins. The first one is it's going to be called Gatsby source file system.
Okay.
Add that to our package.json.
And that's the word source?
Let me I'll just grab links for you because we should share these anyways. So Gatsby source file system is here. I will post it in the chat. I posted it in the glitch chat.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Post it in the other one. Okay. And then we also have, I'll look up the other one while you're adding that one.
NPM is having a think. And then Tara, I know in the past you mentioned something about a different set of watch.json examples. Watch.json is the name of the file. Cool. So while you're looking that up, I'm going to pull this up.
Okay.
Because right now I just disabled auto reloading, which, like, yeah, sure, you can do that. But there's more you can do. So I want to... Eventually, you can probably do a smart thing. Because ultimately, what would be really cool is to say, hey, when these files change, trigger a Gatsby build, and then serve the file statically. Like, ultimately, that's where we want to get, I feel like. Procrastinator,
sure.
Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. All right, looks like it was Gatsby transformer remark. So what is a transformer?
And I just added that one to get it rolling in the background.
Oh, fantastic.
So inside of Gatsby, we have a plugin infrastructure. And by default, the plugin is just something that can execute arbitrary code on behalf of the user so that we can package up something that you would want to do on multiple sites. And you can just kind of drop it into every site and it'll happen the same way. And by default, maybe that's something like you want to replace every, I think a really good example of a funny plugin was, I think it was Jake Archibald did an example where he took a page and took all the content on it and replaced every instance of the word cloud with but. And so it was like, he like pulled up a Google marketing page and it was like, check out our but native computing. It was really funny. But so we could do that sort of thing with a Gatsby plugin. But then we also have the ability to do more advanced stuff where you could do a source. And a source in Gatsby is where we pull in data to our GraphQL layer. And what this means is that, like with the Gatsby source file system, we want to read the file system and load any files there as GraphQL nodes. And nodes are just like the GraphQL term for like a piece of data.
Okay.
And then when we use a transformer, we can take a node and transform it into another type of thing. So if we have files that are markdown files, we can transform them into HTML. And so that's kind of what this transformer is going to do for us. And that'll let us actually display it on screen. So we have now the Gatsby source file system is installed. And to actually use this, we've got to configure it, which means that we need to create a gatsby-config.js.
Okay, I will make one of those.
Okay. And inside of it, we're going to do, this is where we get back into the node style. So module.exports. And this is going to be an array, or sorry, an object. And inside of it, we have a key called plugins.
Not JSON, I can just write it this way.
And this is an array.
Okay.
Okay. So inside of it, we need to get two plugins configured. The first one is going to be the file system. So this is going to be an object.
Okay.
And it has two keys, resolve and options.
Okay. What does resolve do?
Oh, you're gonna resolve the name of the plugin. So Gatsby source file system.
Okay.
And options is an object. And what we want to set inside of it is the path to our files. So I would just do, in this case, we could just do content. And they're depending on what your use case is, you might want to prefix this with like dir name or something. In a lot of cases, that's not necessary. So I just put in the content. This also helps if you're doing more advanced stuff as well. If you want to have like themes where you're composing together this kind of stuff, you would want the top level content, not the one relative to never mind. We're getting too deep. For more on that, ask me on Twitter and I will give you so much information. So what this will do is it basically says, hey, when you boot, I want you to look for any files in the content folder, and it's going to load nodes. So the next thing we want to do is say, hey, if you find a markdown file, I want you to transform it into HTML. So let's add another plugin, and this one doesn't need options, so we can just pass a string.
Oh, okay.
If we don't need options, we can just shortcut that and pass the string, and that's what gets resolved. Sweet. And that's going to be Gatsby transformer remark.
Keep my quotes consistent. Okay.
All right. So then, upon saving that, we will need to stop and restart the server.
Which I think it was already stopped because of the download that was pending.
Okay.
So I
yeah, it
think
looks like
we're
it's
gonna
still
be.
working.
I'm glad we moved on. I don't. Yeah, these are. I feel like these are unusually slow installs today, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's the curse of the live demo, right?
Exactly. Okay, so we've installed everything. So we're going to hit run, and hopefully, when it runs, it's going to find this automatically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So when Gatsby boots, it looks for Gatsby dash. There's a handful of them. So the one that we're using now is config, where we can set up plugins and themes and site metadata. There are additional APIs that we will play with to show Markdown on the screen. The one that we're going to use today is Gatsby-node.js,
Okay.
which we'll look at the nodes first, and then we'll figure out how to get them on screen. And then we also have APIs for the server-side rendering, which is Gatsby-ssr.js, and one for browser stuff, which is the Gatsby-browser.js.
Sweet. So I see that it
today,
said there's plugins have changed. We're going to clean up the cache.
Yep,
Cool.
It's bootstrapping. That's all good news. So we should get to, we'll see a URL here, and that's the one that I'm going to want to grab. It's going to say like your site / a few underscores and then GraphQL, and that's the one that we want.
Okay.
So once we see that output, we're going to grab that and open it up on the other site.
Sweet.
And this is where Gatsby kind of starts to really diverge from the standard static site generator model, because this is where now we have like data management. We've got an abstraction layer in here, which can be a stumbling block to start for sure. But I am I really love it as a general model. So yeah, you can see the triple underscore graph as well.
Triple dunder. That's very, very secret. None more secret.
And inside, what we can see.
Ooh, it's big, but.
Yeah, we have the ability to run arbitrary query. So at the top right, you've got a docs tab.
Okay.
And you can kind of.
I will say this. I have literally never ever used GraphQL before in my entire life.
Excellent.
So this is now a very special educational episode of my stream.
All right. So on the left, you can highlight and delete all of that text. It's just kind of like intro comments. And what we can do is you can. This is interesting because I can't actually see your screen, so I'm not sure what you're typing. So
oh, forgive me.
I'm got the Twitch delay. But so we will basically write out a query, and the query that we can write out, we can build from these docs on the top right. So if you open it, we've got file and all file, and so I'm gonna do an all file query, which you'll start. All GraphQL queries are going to start in curly braces, and so you can just add some curly braces over there.
Yep, it's suggesting all file,
and you can type all file. And then more curly braces after that.
Okay. Just and straight, you can type no space, just, okay, nodes. Yep.
And under nodes, let's do, to start, just do relative path.
Okay.
And then you can hit that play button.
Radpost.markdown.
Excellent. So next, we want to figure out how to get into that markdown that we created. And assuming, let's see, yep. So what you should be able to do is next to relative path, you should be able to add a and type, actually go ahead and tap prettify, and it should kind of.
Ooh, yeah, okay, yes.
And then underneath relative path, you don't need commas or anything like that. You can just go down to the next thing. Type child, and it should autocomplete.
Child markdown or mark. Yep.
So that's the transformer. So effectively what's happened is it took the file node, saw that it was markdown, and created a new node inside of it so that you could pull up the child markdown remark. And underneath that, you will be able to query for, let's do HTML.
Okay.
And if you run that command, you should see the HTML.
Absolutely.
And so this is the way that you would pull out content. So another thing that we can do if we go back into the markdown is we can add front matter to it. And the front matter format, if you are looking at see if you're in the post.
Yep.
So we can do a fenced block, so like 3 hyphens in a row, and then start adding whatever we want. Let's add title, my rad post. We can add we could add, a date, and today is the 25th. Is that right?
26.
Wow,
27.
living in the past.
Wow.
Okay. But so what this will do for us then is now when we go and look, we might have to reboot the server for this, but let's see. Will it? Let's go in and try. So if I go to the __ GraphQL, or I guess you'll have to do this. It'll be.
So I have HTML. Do I query for something else?
Try front matter.
Okay.
And then
try it.
you can get the title.
Absolutely.
Sub field of it.
It absolutely worked.
Excellent.
It did.
So now we're in business. Like at this point, we can start like using this to build pages. Then the way to do that would be to go in and there are a few ways that we could do this. So I guess the first way would be to directly query this. So if we go and maybe you can tell me what would make the most sense to you. We can do this a couple ways. Okay. The first one would be we can go into one of our pages and just query markdown and stick it into the page. Another way we could do this is we can do a query for all the markdown pages and dynamically create pages for them. It's really up to you.
I think ultimately, my dream is as I create markdown files, I'm creating pages.
Okay, yeah, let's do that then. So let's go ahead and add one more front matter field, which I'm going to call slug. And this is a shortcut. I'll make it match the the file name. It's just nice and easy. So we've got our slug, and that means that we can create a Gatsby-node.js.
Okay, sort of in the base of our file system.
Yeah, right next to Gatsby config.js.
Rad.
And inside of it, we can do so we're going to do named exports here. So exports dot create capital P pages. And that is going to be a arrow function.
Any arguments?
There will be, yeah. So it's a destructured argument, so curly braces. And then inside we want actions and GraphQL.
And those are just lowercase?
Yep. And because GraphQL is going to return us a promise, let's make this an async await function. So just add the async keyword right after yep. And then now we're ready to get rolling here. So we can, inside the function, we're going to do const result, if we want to call it that, equals await GraphQL. And GraphQL is a function. And inside of it, we're going to do backticks so that we can do multi-line stuff.
Yep.
And we can grab out the that query that you wrote, the all file query. You can just pull that straight across.
Sweet.
But instead of getting the HTML, which we don't really need right now, we're going to just get the slug out of the front matter. And we can dump this relative path too, because we won't use it.
Okay.
And then from there, what'll happen is we're going to get an object similar to that demo object that you put up before. But now we can do stuff with it. So I want to, first, let's check for an error. So if result.error, we can do just like a console.error holy crap, or whatever. Gadzooks. That's a good one. And then you can just return, so it stops trying. And if otherwise, so just kind of beyond that if statement, we can set up a loop. So result dot data dot all file. And so once we get into the data, the GraphQL just resolves into a JSON object. So we've got data.allfile.nodes.
Okay, and that's going to be an array.
So we're going to map. And so we can, for each, sorry, you're right. You are absolutely right. And the argument is going to be a page or a node or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and so now that we're down in here, we can run actions.createPage.
Cool.
And that's a function that's going to take an object as arguments. And the first thing that's going to take is the path, which is where we want to use the slug. And so as a template string, we'll want to do like slash, and then the slug, which we'll get at by page.childMarkdownRemark.frontMatter.slug. Frontmatter as well.
Oh.
Yep, and then that's perfect. The next one is going to be component. And we haven't actually built this component yet, but let's get set up as if it exists. So we'll do require.resolve. And inside of that, we're going to pass a path to probably source templates post.js. And the final thing we're going to send is context. And context is an object. And we just want to pass in the slug. So it'll be slug, and then the value is going to be that same like page.childMarkdownRemark. But you will need that slug as a
key.
Yeah,
right. Right.
Yep.
No,
cool. So then the last thing we need to do before we can actually execute this is build that source templates post.
Source. Okay. Got that file created.
Okay, and inside this one, we are going to do basically the same thing that we did in the index file. We want to import React, and we're going to create a component that we export as default. The difference with this one is that we get some props now. So inside of this, we can destructure our props argument on line 4. And one of the arguments that Gatsby is automatically going to insert is page context. And so what I would suggest probably to start is let's just do like a pre-tag and dump like JSON stringify the content of page context. And you'll have to curly brace wrap that JSON stringify.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I like it.
That's my I know I've just fudged that twice, but that's my default action is the automatically pretty printed if I can.
Yep, I love that. And then you'll have to change the default. Yep. Okay. So
we haven't been restarting the server, but I think it is time to restart the server.
Is indeed time to restart the server.
So 1 second. We're going to add a key to our
Oh, cool. So what we're doing here then is we're just saying if this file changes, then...
Correct. Oh, but I'm editing absolutely the wrong project. That's a paddling. I see. John Nicholas caught me as well. I fixed it. Everything's fine.
Crisis averted, everyone.
Crisis averted. Need to add that to my bright red. I have extension that will turn my browser bright red if it's a project that I shouldn't be editing. Like the actual theme of my browser turns red to be like, you're on a URL that is on a list of dangerous things.
Nice. That's cool.
It's not like my coworkers are watching me screw this up. So we can actually explicitly exclude source and just to make sure content, and then we'll include not all JS files, but explicitly
the Gatsby, like if you can do like Gatsby star,
I believe,
or no, it should only be Gatsby config and Gatsby node. I believe.
My guess is I could ultimately do the right thing there, but we're just gonna I'm sure with sufficient regex foo I could do the right thing. But
yeah, we'll just brute force the heck out of it. So yeah, this will be good. And now we get to do something interesting while we wait for this to install.
Yeah, I wonder why it's triggering install again. Oh, because I edited this file. I think when you edit this file, it's like it gets a little, it panics. It goes, it goes, I don't know what state we're in, just to be on the safe side. Let's double check. Shouldn't actually have to install anything. So hopefully this doesn't take very long. Because it's not actually, so, okay. I want to sort of understanding check what I've done here. We've got our post, which pulls in a page context object that's sort of the automagical object. And right now we're just pretty printing what that is, but that is happening. Okay, so we're pulling that in down here by just saying source templates post.
Mm-hmm.
So that part's not magic. If we were to, at some point we're going to want, obviously, to pull the actual HTML back out. So maybe while we're waiting for this to install, we can tweak this file.
So we actually won't do it from here. It's
interesting.
Yeah, it ends up happening in the template file, which is kind of like the second layer of what makes Gatsby helpful. Yeah, that's smart.
Just while I'm in here. It's always if I've used a long piece of logic like that twice, pull it to a variable. Okay. So that looks okay.
Yeah. So effectively what's happening is like by passing in this context, the power that we get is that that context gets passed down to the component. And so we could, if we wanted to, we could pass the HTML in here. And that would theoretically be fine. But what's kind of nice about GraphQL is that you get to query the data that you use in the same place that you use it. And so what we've done here is we've said, hey, we're going to build pages by their slugs. Let's grab the slugs and build pages, right? So you can kind of look at this code and see exactly what's happening. The slug is coming from the files and out of the markdown. So, okay, that's all. It's not like like you wouldn't be able to look at this and go, I clearly understand GraphQL now, but it starts to hint at where the data came from. And as you learn more about GraphQL and as you learn more about the structure of this sort of stuff, you're not like having to traipse through multiple files to figure out where things came from. And adding the HTML from here would start to introduce that problem. We are passing the HTML in this file, but we're using it in another file, and then you got to kind of trace back and figure out where it came from. So what we can do in this this post template is the page context. That's going to give us like the slug that we passed, and we could pass whatever we wanted in here. We could put, foobar or whatever, all that stuff into the context, and it would just come through. There are a couple limitations, like you can't put like maps in it or something, but that sort of stuff is really, really use cases. But what we can do is in the post, we're able to then we can do a GraphQL query in here.
Within the post.
GraphQL query and drop it into our page, which is really nice. And the thing that's very powerful about that is that the like the same things that get passed to page context
Mm-hmm.
also get passed as GraphQL variables, which we haven't looked at yet. So maybe what we can do is, or I guess the GraphQL server is down right now while we're doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're salty about right now.
It
So
looks like
I'm gonna real quick make sure that there's a chance that when we were playing with the file system, we
we upset it.
we made it a little salty. So I'm just gonna. There's a command we can run that. There's a chance that we were not using pnpm, which is actually why it was running so slow. We were using npm.
Oh.
And so it was actually, as opposed to creating nice symlinks to all our packages, it was actually downloading them.
Oh.
Some CLI tools assume npm, and then things get a little bit. Yeah. Let's see how we're doing. I think that should help a little bit. It does think it wants to do another installation, but it says with pnpm, which is the right thing. I wasn't paying attention to what it said in the past, but looks like in the past it was doing something different. Yeah, look, that's almost done. That's already done. Okay, so that goes way faster.
Well, we learned things.
We learned things. Today's all about learning. Tomorrow morning, also about learning. Lots of learning. And look at that. Look, already, okay. That is going way faster. That feels much better. Success create pages. That looked new.
We broke a thing.
Ooh, what did we break?
Cannot find source templates post. Source templates post. Is that error on yours?
Yeah, I see it. Cannot find it module. Source templates post.js.
Did we? Let me see. I know what we did. This is my fault.
Sure.
It should have been a relative.
Oh, relative.
Require.
Cool.
And so I just updated that in there. And this, on line 21, adding the dot slash to the beginning of the post gives us a relative require, and it should now be, yes, it is in fact built.
Successfully plugins.
And so what we can do now is we can go to our /rad post, and what we should see is that pre-input.
Oh, I see. You're actually saying if we go to in the path. It's bundling still. I love that it gives you the little nasty. Oh, here we go. I love that it gives you the little nastygram in the logs, because I'm still bundling that. Chill out for a minute. Like the server's already listening. It's like, we'll be there. Don't you worry.
Calm down, little camper.
Yeah, exactly. Slow your roll. Cool. But we've got exactly what I would expected. I mean, an extra field that I wasn't expecting, but that's okay.
Yeah, I actually did not know that one got sent through, but hey, that's useful. So then the next thing that we can do is we can go out and actually write a query in that post template.
Rad. Okay.
And the way that we will do that is with importing GraphQL as a named export from Gatsby.
GraphQL.
There we go. And then we're going to export a const. And this is a named export, so just export const. I always call it query. You can really call it whatever you want. You just have to export it. And that's going to equal. And this time GraphQL is a template tag. So it's going to be GraphQL and then the backticks with it's not surrounded with parentheses though.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so we use it as it's a tag template literal. Really what it's doing under the hood is fairly complicated. We parse the AST and look for queries and do all this stuff and then re-inject it. We don't really need to worry about that in this podcast. So what we will do though, is we're going to write a query. So when we use GraphQL variables, we need to tell it what type of thing we're doing. So on line 5, we can write the keyword query. And then in parentheses, we're going to define our GraphQL variable, which is going to be the name of the variable preceded with a $sign, which will harken back to your PHP days if you ever did that. So that'll be the slug. And then we have to give it a type. So : and the type of the slug is going to be a string. So capital S string. And because it's required, we're going to add an exclamation point. So then you can close your parentheses, and then we're going to write a regular query. So add your curly braces.
Right afterward, or a new line?
I would add them here.
Okay.
And then you can do a new line. And in between, so this time we're actually just going to query for the markdown file. And so I find that it's easier to write these in the GraphQL editor because it'll like check your work as you go.
Yeah, sure.
So if we just want to pull up that _ GraphQL.
Yep, I have it loaded.
Okay, then it should be markdown.
Should I paste that exact query in? The exact same query in?
You can start there for sure.
So slug, string, curly's, okay.
And then we're going to query for markdown remark. And we want to then do the front matter and the slug. So let's see, did I?
Front matter, the slug from the front matter, right?
Yeah, the slug is from the front matter, but we also want to like pass an argument to the markdown remark. So it's like markdown remark will look like a function. It's going to have parentheses after it.
Will this still be curly braces or no?
There will still be curly braces after it, yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of like how we query. So it's going to be front matter, and then front matter is going to take an object as an argument.
So also front matter is also a function style call.
Yes. Well, no, it's like a object property. So front matter : and then curly braces.
Oh, I see.
And then slug : and curly braces.
Yep.
And we want the slug to be equal to our query variable. And this is surprisingly hard to communicate like verbally.
If you'd like, I'm going to quickly just pop this into a comment in our post dot, so you can see it.
Yeah, that's probably easier for us to work on. So basically what's happening here is we are taking we want the front matter, we want the slug, and then the only thing that's missing here is we want this to be equal
an equality check. Okay.
And then down here, we're going to write our actual query. So looks like we've got a couple here. Yeah. So the query goes here. So you can just take that right back. And then inside of it, we can start by just making a query for whatever. Let's do a query for the front matter title.
And so these are now going to be just the normal curly braced things.
Right. And that should be where the query comment is right now. You can just replace that with like front matter, and it should autocomplete for you.
It's not giving me front matter as a result there. There's a lot of autocomplete. Let's see what's missing
going
here.
Wrong. Let's see.
Do I have a missing curly brace matchup?
So you've got.
I don't know if you can see that. I know we're doing stream sniping here. This is not ideal, but
That should be right. And then inside those curly braces, it should.
I see the red just like mismatches, or the red?
It shows mismatches. I'm just going to post a query that I know works into that comment because I don't want you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Instead of bogging down on this. Oh, I know what happened. That's my fault because the front matter is not inside of curly braces, and I missed it.
Oh, I see it.
That's my bad.
Cool. Yep, there we go.
So that then, and you should be getting the title.
Yep, everything is auto-completing nicely now.
Excellent. So we can bring that back in and just paste that straight into our query, and I'll delete the comment.
Cool. So we'll just replace the template string with this query.
Yes.
Sweet. Okay, we're back to no longer having errors.
Okay. And so when we use the GraphQL query, we're going to get a new prop passed to this post component that's called data. And so let's go ahead and just do the same thing. Swap out page context for data. And
for data. Okay.
Yeah. So the page context, like if you needed to, you could pass something custom down, but like typically speaking, the context is most useful for making additional queries.
Gotcha.
And so
there we go.
That is set. If we go to rad post.
Yep. It shows front markdown remark, front matter title, my rad post.
Love it. So let's get the rest of the things we need. We've got the title, and let's show the HTML. So outside of the front matter, but still inside a markdown remark, we want to do HTML.
Okay, we got that.
And if we wanted to, we could also pull the date.
From front matter if we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And another cool thing that we can do with dates is that we can like format them. So in the front matter, after the date, you can put a parentheses and then type format string.
Okay.
And like, let's do, let's say, do the YYYY for like long form year, and then like 3 M's and 2 days.
That in quotes or just?
It's the format is in quotes. So like format string is the same position as front matter. So just right inside the parentheses, and then it's a colon and then a string argument.
Capital wise.
And you can capital Y's, capital M's, capital D's, and spaces. Like, so
with
basically
spaces.
what we're saying is like, show me the date like this.
Oh, 2019, March 27. I see that now.
Yeah. So now we've got like a kind of a cool setup where we can show the date on our post.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, right? So then we can actually put this on the page.
Ooh.
So let's go, let's write some stuff to get this. We can probably do like a div to contain the whole post.
Gonna be fancy and use article.
Ooh, semantic HTML. You're speaking my language here.
Trying to make Marcy proud.
I know, she's probably watching this and she will judge you.
She will know.
So then we can do like an H1, drop the title in there. And that is going to be the like data dot markdown remark dot front matter.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Dot title, and we should see.
Is it one curly, two curlies? Still thinking. Compiled successfully. There we go.
Got ourselves a title.
Yep.
Perfect. And then the date. And finally, for the HTML, we got to do something a little different because it's compiled HTML. Right?
Yeah, so it's already.
We have to do the dangerously set inner HTML thing.
Which I don't actually know. So.
Okay, cool. So it's going to be a self-closing div, or a self-closing section, or whatever you want it to be. And inside of it, we will do a prop called dangerously, capital S set, capital I inner, all caps HTML.
Okay.
Equals, double curly braces, and then is it 1 or 2 underscores? I think _1 HTML, and then the colon, and it'll be the data dot
blah blah blah. Yep. Okay. It's not front matter. It's just I dropped a D there. So drop D, the sickest of tunings and the worst of typos. Okay, hot update was not successful. Must be in the form double under.
Well, that's my memory.
Shazam!
Hey!
Shazam!
All right, so good news. We got ourselves a functional Gatsby site, pulling different things. So the last thing that's happening here is like you can see that there's no link to this. Like it's not visible anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So what we would want is some kind of like a blog roll. And
Sorry, Drop D's getting some sass in the channel, but
but so now what we can do is let's go edit our index page and we'll make it into like a blog roll.
sure.
And the way we can do that is we're gonna write some React hooks.
Oh, another thing I've never done before.
It's gonna be great. I love them. So what's kind of fun about this is we just get to import GraphQL from Gatsby as a named import, and also we're gonna import a hook called use static query. Exactly. And on line 5, we'll just bump things down a bit.
Okay.
And we're going to do const data equals use static query. And that's a function. And the argument is going to be the template tag GraphQL with some backticks. Okay, so inside of this, we want to run a query that's going to get all the posts. So we can do all markdown remark here.
Parens.
We actually don't even need parentheses because we just want all of them.
Oh.
So we can do curly braces. And then inside of the curly braces, we'll do nodes. And then inside of those curly braces, we will do front matter.
And we want what? Slug and
title, I'd say. Yeah. And so then on line 13 here, we can just add a new line below that, and we'll do a loop over data dot all markdown remark.
Was it loop, which was
like I would probably map it at this point. So like data dot.
that's a curly first, right? Or no?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It'll be all markdown remark.
All markdown remark, right?
Yeah, it's going to match that query format. So dot nodes dot map, and the result is going to be that yeah. So inside of here, we want to pass we need to add a key to the div to avoid a React complaint.
Okay.
You need a closing.
Oh, paren. Thank you.
Yep. So the div, we can add a key of, I would just do like the key is the slug. That'll be unique enough for our purposes.
Yes, it will. That's
no quote there.
No quote. Just say slug?
Yep. Well, it'll be n.slug.
N.slug, right.
Front matter dot slug in this case. You could, if you wanted to, like destructure to get the front matter.
Yeah. That's true, because we're doing the same thing repeatedly. But that's okay.
Yeah, this is fine. And then we'll do whatever level heading you want to use for the post name.
I'm going to change this recent post in each one, so yeah.
Let's do a Gatsby link, so a link component. And that will be 2. Let's use a template string and add a slash and then the slug. So yeah. And then
close our link and then type.
Yep. And that should give us what we're looking for.
Let's see what we've got here. Recent posts, matches, data.markdown remark. What are you salty with me for?
Oh, we might need to.
JSX value should either be an expression or quoted JSX text. And it's saying
we need to put curly braces around that template literal.
Oh. Cool.
Apparently. Because that escapes it as like regular JavaScript. So that's
so 2. And then what are we getting now? Unexpected name, all markdown remark.
All markdown remark. That should definitely be working.
In GraphQL template strings. Did I spell it wrong? It's decapitalized.
Nope. All markdown remark. Nodes. Front matter. Like that.
Saying
Okay,
line 6, column 5. It's being a little bit mad.
Front matter, slug, title. Unexpected name, all down remark.
Weirdly, it wasn't doing this a second ago. So let me just.
We are missing outer parentheses, or outer curly quotes. So if I add those.
Oh, I'm on my rad post still. So let me go back to the index.
Uh-oh. My headphones just died. Hold on 1 second while I
got it.
That issue.
No worries. It is working. So I'm excited. Though your headphones decided in that exact moment to die, it is totally working.
Good. All right. So I mean we're in pretty good shape here.
I'm gonna click on that link, and that link totally takes me. Yeah. This is awesome.
Excellent. Yeah. So we've got ourselves a working thing. We could add a back to all posts link at the bottom of the post template, and then just to demonstrate that it's working, let's add another markdown file, and we might have to restart the server to get it to pick that up.
And then do I need to pull in a link to use?
On the post template, you'll want to pull in a link, yeah.
And that'll be 2 just slash, right?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool. So got.
Yeah. So let's add one more markdown file, and that I think should kind of demonstrate the idea that now anytime you add a markdown file, it'll automatically create the page. Oh, and it just picked it right up.
It's magic.
Less rad post. I love it.
And then
there it goes. Working.
Cool. Bit derivative, but still pretty good.
I love it. No, this is great, man. Wait, so I think we
I would have one more request, which would just be if it's simple, how would I pull in link to a common CSS file for all of this?
Sure. Yeah, so the easiest way to do that would be let's create a source components and layout.js.
Components, so it'll be source components layout.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like we can make this a shared component. So do you want to pull in, what's your preferred CSS flavor? Like, do you want to just do plain CSS?
Yeah, I'll just do plain CSS for the purposes of this.
So let's also create a source components layout.css.
Okay. Great.
And I mean, as much or as little CSS as you want to write, I'm happy to watch you do it.
Oh, I see. I love CSS. I have a problem.
See, I have a running joke on my stream, which is that I can't start writing CSS because once I start, I cannot stop. Like I keep tweaking.
That is tough but fair. That's probably good enough.
Yeah, I maybe add a color or something so it's really obvious.
Yeah. There. If links work, and I'll put a background color on it.
So in our I'll let you get that in there.
Great.
Cool. So then in our layout.js, we can just import. So we'll start by building a React component. So just kind of a standard React component.
Just going to clone index for a second and pull some stuff out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then it's going to receive children. So this is going to be like a wrapper component.
So children as a destructured argument?
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to need anything from Gatsby because this is going to be a pretty straightforward one. So we can drop that import. We can also drop actually, we can probably just drop all of this and let's return a React fragment. So we're not adding any junk to the DOM.
Okay.
So yeah, just return, or you like keep that. And then the return argument from this layout is going to be return react.fragment as a component.
Oh, okay. So
like well, it'll still be a component though. And it's got a capital F. Yep, and then we just want to make it into like an actual thing here.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then children will be its argument.
So just like this?
Yep. And then on line 2, we can import our layout.css without a name or anything, just import layout.css.
Like that?
Let's make it relative because npm node packages typically don't like being like anything in the global scope. So that little bit of relative, make sure that it knows for sure that's a local file.
Okay.
So now what we've got is we've basically created something that is importing a global style sheet and then just passing through the components. So anything that uses this layout will have the styles applied to it, which means that if we go to our like our index page or our post page, we can just import this layout component and wrap it around that content.
Oh, cool. So it'll be...
it's going to be, I think, the default layout. It's the default export.
Yeah, it is.
It's the default.
And then this will be up a layer.
Yep. And you can, like, the .js is optional.
Hey, well, wow, that instantly magically worked. I don't know why.
But now we can just wrap that article. Yeah, so basically what happened is once we pulled layout into the document,
Mm-hmm.
the CSS also rolls up with it because of the development mode.
Gotcha.
I don't think that would work in
prod or whatever
build. I think it would like dedupe that out and remove it. So we want to make sure it sticks, which means we just need to wrap our article with the layout.
Okay, so just write like so.
Yep.
And then if for whatever reason I wanted to put like an actual structure with a doc type and stuff, I could put that in the React fragment.
100%. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, and we use React Helmet for that because it's allows the head tag to be like composed,
mm-hmm.
Which is really nice. But yeah, so this is it. You can wrap any component you want to have that with the layout. That will give you a pretty straightforward layer of control. If you wanted to add your header, you would do it in a layout like, any common components that live across the whole site would probably live in that layout file or
mm-hmm.
subcomponents thereof. But at this point, yeah, you're just writing React. You can compose to your heart's content.
That's super cool.
All right. So any other questions? Anything you wanted to play with before we?
No, I mean, that's a website, right? Like,
We did it.
our my wildest dreams were to build a sort of markdown driven website in Glitch using Gatsby, and with 12 minutes to spare, including time for AV issues, we've done it. So that's awesome. That's so
Excellent.
cool.
Yeah.
This is super exciting.
Any questions from the chat?
Yeah, I want to throw it over to chat while we talk about what we're going to be doing on tomorrow morning's stream.
So yeah, I would love to just kind of take what we've done here and expand on it. And what I want to do is I want to learn more about the features of Glitch.
Absolutely.
Because I'm really curious. Like I saw as I'm hovering, I see like there's like a hand that shows up, or like some other things that we didn't really dig into here that I think are really cool. So I would love to kind of play with that more and learn more about how this works, what it means, maybe some other cool things that we could do with this. Like you could show me how to duplicate or remix projects. I'm really interested in that whole thing, and just kind of the idea of like, you know, how quickly can we spin stuff like this up and start playing with new ideas of inside of Gatsby, inside of Glitch. Kind of get the Russian nesting doll of cool things stacked together so we can build really amazing things in very, very little time.
Absolutely. I think my ultimate goal would be to take sort of this project or it's one of its descendants or whatever, and maybe even say like, hey, this is a great place to start if you want to play with Gatsby on Glitch. And sort of, we have this term for like starter apps, which are just, there's nothing special about them other than the fact that we point to them and say, oh, you want to learn X, check out this project. And it's a great starting point.
For sure.
And that's something that I would love to build up. But I think, yeah, playing with some of the Glitch features around hand raising and things we didn't get to today, plus maybe seeing what it would take to have Gatsby have like a high quality first class Glitch project that you can point people to so they can immediately hit the ground running and see all this stuff.
Absolutely. I think that'd be great. So that seems like something that's totally worth doing. We're going to do that tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Yep.
On my Twitch channel. So today we're on Potch's channel. Tomorrow we're going to be on mine, and we are going to build even more fun stuff with Gatsby and Glitch.
I am psyched.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Jason, thank you so much. This was so much fun. It's wonderful to have a co-pilot in this stuff. And
Potch, I had a blast.
You've got the deep knowledge on Gatsby to
yes.
To make
tomorrow we will extract
painful.
Deep knowledge on the Glitch.
Yeah, we jumped across a couple things like the watch.json and some of the little bit of smarts that Glitch has going on. But I'd love to go deeper with that, and hopefully everyone can tune in. So I'll be hosting that stream on this channel, so you can check it out here or go to Jay Lengstorf on Twitch. Jason, again, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Apparently, we're going to do a buddy comedy together after this. If you want, I'll shave my beard, and then it'll sort of be like kind of a yin-yang thing. And
you'd have to do like you'd have to like comb it up like into a beehive so that it really matched the
full cone head, and then I think we'll solve crimes or whatever.
Yeah, solve crimes or hunt bugs, one or the other.
Most of the crimes I commit
so much,
are purely software. Thank you so much, Jason. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a fantastic evening.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.